Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a first impressions and review on the brand new Anastasia Subculture palette. This is a very controversial palette right now, to say the least. This palette is literally being talked about everywhere right now. I typically try not to watch any reviews before I make my own review on something, but at this point it's literally impossible to get away from this fucking palette. So I had to watch some reviews. I would say I've seen both good and bad and kind of like whatever reviews on it at this point. I obviously want to try it out. I did pay for this myself. It was a bitch and a half to get this, honestly. Me and Ryan were both trying at the same time to buy it online when it launched, so I want this to work. Let me just start off by saying that the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette is one of my favorite palettes of all time. It is very well used, and I'm very aware of the fallout situation in the Modern Renaissance, so I know that Anastasia shadows are very fallouty. I do have Modern Renaissance, the World Traveler palette, the Mario palette, and her single shadow, so I'm aware of how Anastasia's shadows perform. I've heard that the formula on this is different. I will try that out for myself. I haven't even touched this palette yet. I got this yesterday, but I didn't have time to play around with it, so that's why I'm playing around with it today. Take a week to get here. I did not pay for the 2-day shipping or whatever. I didn't care that much. Just kind of swatch around with it so far. This was $42, same as Modern Renaissance. So let me just swatch some. Very, very soft. This one is Destiny. Adorn feels really soft. They're very pigmented. Let me swatch some on my arm. Very pigmented at first swatch. I personally don't really care about swatches that much because I feel like it doesn't really determine how a shadow performs. Some shadows perform very well and swatch terribly. Here are some swatches. They're extremely pigmented. Just, you know, go right into it. I'm gonna prime my eyes and set them as normal. I'm gonna use my Tarte Lid Lock in the shade Buff. I'm just setting that with a cream colored shadow per usual. I'm gonna be using brushes today that I know work very well, that I use all the time. So if a shadow isn't great, I'll be able to tell because I use these brushes all the time. I don't know what look I'm going for today. I kind of want to do like a halo eye, but I could change my mind. To start off with the shade Dawn. Okay, there is so much fallout. If you guys can see, let me see. There is a lot of kickback that just came up. Let me tap this off. Okay. Alright, well, great. I'm gonna use this as a transition color. There's so much kickback. Color is kind of whatever. It's a little bit darker than I expected. It looks a little bit darker than it does in the pan. It's fine. Tapping off the excess again. By the way, I know that there's like a lot of bad reviews on this palette, but I really want this palette to work just because, you know, I did buy it and I don't want it to go to waste. Okay. So this one's blending out fine. Yeah, this one's blending out fine. It's just like a little bit darker than I thought it was going to be. I was going to use it more as like a transition color, but honestly this would be more like a first kind of crease color for me. Go into the shade Edge right here with... I just want you guys to see how much product is on my brush. There's so much product on the brush that gets picked up, like just a lot. I'm gonna put this in my crease a little bit. So this ends up being like a more mustardy color. I'm gonna kind of scoot you guys in a little bit closer. That probably would be more helpful than being far away. So I scooted you guys closer a little bit so you guys could see what I'm experiencing over here. It's kind of being weird on this side now that I am really looking at it. It's almost like not blending, which is what I really didn't want to happen. Like, I really want this palette to work for me. But it is giving me like a little bit of trouble. And I know I saw on Alyssa Ashley's video that these colors like kind of oxidize a little bit, and I agree. Like, this looked like it was going to be a little bit more yellow, and on camera it looks kind of yellow, but like in person it almost looks like tan lines from Makeup Geek. It looks a little bit more like brown. I'm just getting like a bunch of brown here. You can see like it's kind of being weird in like this area. I'm gonna take a clean brush and try to blend out the edges. Kind of helped a little bit just to kind of blend out the edges, but it's still being a little weird in certain areas. Like, that kind of helped. I don't know, on this side it's looking a little wonky, and yeah, I don't know if you guys can see, there's like this like line, and I'm trying to blend it out, but it's not blending. I'm gonna move on. Take the shade Roxy right here. It's like a peachy shade. This is the shade that I've seen the most problems with. It's not that bad. I don't know if you guys can, I mean, it's a little bad, but I don't know. There's just like a bunch of product comes up on the brush, and I don't really like that. I'm gonna put this in my crease. I'm a typical person that likes to dip back into their shadows, and I'm just like, it's getting like, there's just so much product. They're really pigmented though, but there's just so much product getting everywhere. I'm gonna go back with a clean brush again. Oh my god. There's just like this line that will not blend out. It looks like shit. This is what my palette looks like as of right now with Roxy. Let me kind of, can you see the fallout? I go in to All Star, this like maroon shade. I'm gonna take that on a little Morphe M433. Oh my god, there's just so much pigment all over my desk. I lied. I'm not going in with All Star. I'm actually going to go in with Access right here. It doesn't pick, I mean, it's still a lot of pigment, but it's not as bad as All Star. I'm gonna put this like in my outer corner. It's really pigmented. And shadows that start off really pigmented scare me because usually they won't blend out, and I like to build up my color. I'm gonna kind of flip my brush a little bit and then kind of put that in my crease. Oh my god. Okay. You know, it's fine. We'll blend it. We'll blend it. Okay, literally what happened here? I'm gonna put Access again on the inner part of my eye. Okay, at that time I feel like it wasn't that pigmented. I'm kind of just put that in the crease with that brush. And to blend that out with a clean brush. It's just kind of patchy. First I thought it wasn't going to blend out. I mean, it's still not blending the best, but it is blending a little bit. But when I blend it, I feel like it kind of blends some part away. Like, I feel like I just took away the pigment. I don't know. It's not blending that great. The Time Los Angeles 206 brush, by the way. I love this brush. Go back in with Roxy to, oh my gosh, blend out, because I feel like there's just like a very harsh line of blue. So I'm gonna try to blend those together. So that's kind of helping it. I just feel like there's so much pigment that it's kind of just getting everywhere. Like, I'm not getting like precision, I would say. I use these same brushes all the time and I can usually get the look that I want. What the fuck just happened? Okay, I go back on this side. I'm noticing the same thing again. I don't know if you guys can see, but like there's like a line that like just happens. And it looks like it's a line from when like the two colors meet. Almost like the shadows don't want to blend together. Like, you can clearly see blue and like orange, and like it's just not blending together. And like where it is, it's turning like a almost like a gray color, and it's just so pigmented and powdery that like the more I blend it, the more it gets everywhere, if that kind of makes sense. Surprisingly, I'm not seeing so much fallout underneath my eye, which was what I was expecting. Actually try to, I feel like I don't want to add any more colors just because it's kind of getting all over the place. Go kind of blend that out with Untamed. It's like this kind of mossy green color. I use the same brush I was using earlier. This is the Luxie 229. Oh my god. Okay, see, this is what I mean. Like, they're too pigmented, and now it looks like a mess. Literally tapped my brush off so much. I should have just left it alone, but I wanted it to, oh my god. Okay. Okay, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. We will blend, I hope. I feel like the problem here is that they're too pigmented and it ends up being very messy looking. Like, what the fuck is that? You know what, we're gonna move on. I'm going to take some concealer. I'm gonna swatch. I want to put electric on the center of my lid. Swatch. So this is electric. Kind of pigmented. I'm gonna kind of like put concealer on my middle of my lid. Help with the center of my lid. This is what I always do for halo eye, since I do have hooded lids. I kind of need to make the center of my lid bigger, just kind of like that. And I'm going to take a flat brush, get dry first. So there's a little bit of pigment on there. Okay, it looks fine on top of the concealer. Rub my brush back and forth to kind of pick up more pigment. There we go. I wish you guys could see how hard I'm rubbing into this shadow, by the way. I feel like the shimmer on my lid definitely helped make it look better. I'm getting pigment, but I want to show you guys how I am literally going like this. Really hard. Really, really hard. Blending that into the access shade. It doesn't look that bad. Now that I've added that, I feel like it kind of helped it. Kind of see a little weirdness in this area that just wouldn't blend out, but it's not bad. It definitely helped it. Okay, so I've kind of did the rest of my face, and I did clean up the eyeshadow with concealer. I definitely think it helped make it look a little bit more cleaner. So I like to do my eyes first because I always clean it up with concealer. This eye looks good. This eye, I don't know if you guys can see. Let me kind of zoom in. I could not save this eye right here. I put the Untamed shade there. It was just so pigmented that it just like really stamped my eye, and I couldn't really blend it out again. But I did end up getting this eye to blend, but it does take quite a bit of time. I'm going to do the lower lash line. I am going to take All Star, tap the excess off literally as much as I possibly can. Put this on my lower lash line. Okay, I'm going to go back in because I feel like I tapped it off too much now. Okay. Okay, I just looked in the mirror and it's a little messy over here. So I'm going to kind of just get my brush that I set my under eyes with and kind of blend out those edges. I zoomed you guys in a little bit closer. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's just, I think the shadows are just too pigmented. I think that's the problem. It sounds like it wouldn't be a problem, but sometimes when shadows are just too pigmented, it's hard to work with. It ends up being too much too fast. I like to build my eyeshadow. I don't hate it, but I don't know, I just don't know what to do to prevent it, you know? Take edge and blend that out. This helps it because I feel like it just looks very harsh right now. Feel like I lost the color a little bit. I'm just gonna leave it because at this point I don't really care. This eye is just, I can't save it. I'm gonna take a little bit of Access, even though I don't want to use this shade anymore, and put this on the outer part of my lower lash line. I'm actually just gonna run that along my lower lash line. I didn't like that All-Star color. I feel like it blends away to nothing. So I'm just going to go over that with Access. I feel like the colors end up being muddy together, but that looks better because the All-Star shade I did not like. I was expecting it to look more like how it did when you swatch it, like that, but it ended up kind of blending out to nothing. I'm gonna put, oh my god, this outer corner looks awful. I'm just gonna go on this side. I'm gonna put some mascara and lashes on and my lip color, and then I will be right back to give you guys my thoughts. So this is the finished look. I actually really do like the look. I will show you guys up close. It's definitely not the best blend job I have ever done. I don't want to talk about this side. I don't know her. Side, however, it does look good. I'm telling you, once I got that Untamed shade on this side, it was just so powdery that it kind of just fucked up the entire eye. Couldn't blend it out. It was just already stamped there. It was kind of just point of no return after that. But this side, I did end up getting to a point that I do like it. I still think that it could be blended more, but I'm okay with it. By the way, I forgot to do my inner corner. I'm gonna take Cube, which is this like pinky white shade. I swatched it. It looks very disappointing, to be honest. Let me see what it looks like on the inner corner. Okay, you have to pack it on, and once you do, it looks okay. But it swatches awful. Okay, it's like a pretty like pearly pink. I didn't have to wet it, which is nice. I did see some people have to wet this shade, so I'm glad I don't have to. That actually is really pigmented once you pack it on, but I'm going like this, like I'm kind of digging it to make it like a loose pigment. I do like that inner corner shade. Let me just get into my final thoughts and review on this palette, since there was a ton of people asking for my review and commenting on my picture saying that they really trust my opinion. My thoughts on this whole palette and controversy, I definitely think that there's inconsistencies in this. I don't hate the palette. I think that I can make it work, but I definitely think that you have to work harder to blend out these shadows. I don't have that problem with my Modern Renaissance palette. Everything blends really nicely. This one I definitely had to work with. Obviously I didn't use all the colors, so there are definitely still some colors that I want to work with, but I think this is definitely a palette that you have to learn how to work with. Am I saying that everyone that has had a bad experience with this palette or just did not work for them is lying? No. I think there's definitely inconsistencies in the palette. I think I did get one of the better batches, but again, I still had trouble blending out shadows, especially that Access shade. It took me forever. I've been doing my makeup for about 2 hours now, and I usually do my makeup really fast. Like, it takes a while to blend, but I can get it there. That Electric shade I really do like. I'm sure if I didn't have a concealer underneath, I don't think it would have performed as well, but it definitely had something to stick to, so I would recommend probably putting a base or like a adhesive underneath it to make it work. I kind of made it into like, I kind of scraped it a little bit and made it into like a loose pigment, and I got pigment from it, but again, I think there's definitely inconsistencies in the palette. I wanted to show you guys, there is a ton of fallout in the Modern Renaissance palette that is not, like, I'm not saying at all that the Modern Renaissance does not have fallout, because it does. Like, there is quite a bit of fallout, but I think the thing, like, there's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there is fallout with the Modern Renaissance palette, but these shadows blend great. There's fallout with this palette, and there's by far way more fallout in this palette than the Modern Renaissance palette, and I think the problem with this is they're just too pigmented. Like, they're so powdery that you have to really take off almost all of the shadow on the brush to go in with it. Like I said earlier, I am the type of person who likes to build their eyeshadow. I would rather take a slightly less pigmented shadow to build that will eventually get to the intensity that I want it to be, rather than something that's extremely pigmented up front that's so hard to blend out, and that's what I find the case with these shadows. I don't think this is a beginner friendly palette at all, because it did take me a long time to have to really get it to blend. The end result looks good except for this eye. This eye is struggling, but this eye looks really good. I like how it came out. There are some shadows that I don't like in this palette. For instance, All Star, I do not like that shade. I feel like it ended up turning into fucking nothing. It ended up almost looking gray. I saw that happen to some other people, that that shade was just weird. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't want to say go buy it right now, because I definitely think there's still bad batches. Norvina has addressed the controversy in a weird way. I feel like that this whole situation is just really weird. I feel like they should just upfront and say that there are some bad batches. If they have, then I must have missed that, but I don't think they've said that there's bad batches. I've seen them kind of say that, you know, the shadows are this and that, but I think there are just bad batches, and I think that's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it's okay to admit that there's bad batches, you know. Like, I need to kind of fix that, because there are definitely people, and I have seen it in their videos, where the shadows just will not fucking blend. Like, they will not blend at all. I saw Alyssa Ashley's video, and those shadows, there was something wrong with them. Like, for sure, 100% there was something wrong with her palette. Like, that's not a doubt in my mind. I think I did just so happen to get one of the better ones. Again, I want to mention that it did take me a long time to blend out the shadows to get a somewhat seamless blend. I said I don't want to say you need this palette, because I definitely think that there's a lot of issues with them right now, so I would say maybe wait until they're in stores so you could try it out for yourself and see if it is something that you want. I don't love the palette, but I also don't hate it that much. This is definitely something that I will not use when I'm in a rush, because I know I'm gonna have to be sitting there blending it. To be completely honest, I feel like I'm just gonna end up not reaching for the palette because of that reason. I do like the colors in here. I really like that Electric shade. I think it looks so pretty on top of the Access shade, but that Access one is just such a bitch to blend that I feel like I'm just not going to end up using it ever. I feel like I just will end up not using it as much as I did like my Modern Renaissance or my Colourpop shadows, just because I know that it's like a struggle to have to use the palette, you know. I'm going to keep using it. I'm going to see how the warmer shades work, like the New Wave Fudge, which I did hear was a different color than the original Fudge. It's just, see, that's the problem. That was literally one dip into the shadow. It's just too pigmented. That's the only problem I have with it. It's too pigmented. You just get too much product at initial touch, if that makes sense, you know? It just is so much. Like, let me dip into another shadow and show you. Like, they definitely feel different than Modern Renaissance palette for sure. Like 100%, they're a different formula. You see how they're pigmented at first, but you can blend it out. Even like this, like it blends out. This is just so much payoff at first, and it's so hard to go back from so much payoff. I hate overly pigmented shadows because they're just harder to work with. If they blend, then that's a different story. If they blend out fine, then that's different. But when shadows are so pigmented, I tend to have the same problem where they just will not blend. You know, you kind of have that stamp of eyeshadow, and it's just like impossible to blend from then. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm trying to make as much sense as possible. I'm not trying to bash the palette because I think they're just inconsistencies. Kind of my thoughts on it. I'm really up in the air with it because I do like the look that I came up with today. I just feel like it took so much work to get here. My suggestion is if you do want this palette but you still kind of don't know, because it is kind of quite a bit of money, it's $42, I would wait until it's in stores and you can kind of play around with it yourself, swatch it and see. Also thing too, it's easier to do returns when you buy something in store. Ulta and Sephora have great return policies. When it's just easier to return than having to buy something online and having to ship it back, you know? If you don't like it, it's just easy as like, you know, I don't like this palette, I'm going to the store to return it. It's just easier. My recommendation is just to wait until it's in stores and try it out for yourself and see maybe the store has a better batch or something. I don't know. My thoughts are just, I think there's just bad batches because people have clearly gotten shitty palettes. I was really surprised that I didn't have as much fallout on my face as I thought it was going to be, considering that these were super, super powdery. First ingredient in the shadows in here are talc, and the first ingredient in Modern Renaissance is well, this one is talc, so I definitely think the talc is making it extremely powdery. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave me comments down below and I'll be sure to answer them as best as I can, since I know my review is kind of like, what? You know, like, I don't know. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I am a little disappointed in the shadows and how they blend, but I feel like if you are a very good blender, I think you can kind of make it work. Anyways, I hope that this was somewhat helpful for you guys. If you guys did like this video, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.